right-wing news.
Hello, fellow Americans. Welcome to the Lisa Haven News Network. I'm going to be your host today, the voice of reason. Normally the host of YouTube's channel, Right Wing News. So I hope you will stop by and check me out sometime. Lisa and I see eye to eye on quite a few things, I think you'll find. But she's out today, asked me if I would fill in for her, and I said I would gladly do so. One thing that is not getting really a whole lot of attention these days, because of all the Russian collusion nonsense that we're getting from our media, is just how dire the situation is with our economy and what's coming down the pike. And this particular article, I happened to stumble across it, this one's from Bloomberg, basically discussing how many people in what was supposed to be their golden years are working their tails off. Is this what you want to look like in your retirement? I know it's not the way I want to look. But if Americans were armed with all the facts, something that the mainstream media wouldn't know if it came up and hit them upside the head with a 2x4, then they'd realize that this actually looks pretty good compared to what we have coming. So everything I say is supported with additional documentation, so I encourage you to check out some of the supporting links. That's where you're going to find a lot of the real meat. But let's dig in here. I start off by asking, what do you get when you infuse the ideology of progressives, aka liberals, aka communists, whatever you choose to call them, not just with American academia, but with what the Founding Fathers originally intended to be a free press that was once referred to as the fourth branch of government. Now it's just the propaganda arm of one particular party. Well, what we end up with is a bottleneck of incredibly important information that is not getting disseminated to the American people, and we're starting to get to a point where it's just getting borderline, forget it, not borderline, it's getting dangerous, and particularly as it relates to the economy. We've got an entire country that is progressing towards uninformed idiocy at warp speed because we've got a mainstream media and our institutions of higher learning that want to focus on fiction or feelings rather than what's actually happening. And they'll tell you that since they're not covering it, that therefore there must not be any evidence for it. Nothing could be further from the truth. So, we know that the far left has had a stranglehold on both the mainstream media and academia for decades. But at least with the advent of the internet back in the 90s, it kind of leveled the playing field, right? So if you were a person that was looking for information and you were seeking some kind of refuge from the barrage of never-ending nonsense that the left puts out, you could get it. Not so much these days. Anybody that publishes anything on the internet now knows, at least if they're right of center, that about the last year and a half, there's been an all-out assault on free speech for anyone that isn't towing the liberal line. And they're getting, it's predominantly coming from these far-left CEOs and who are getting their marching orders, from their globalist puppet masters. And, anyone attempting to shine a light on the rampant levels of corruption or news that's vital to the survival of this very republic, is met with massive resistance, and the result is what we have right now, a country of completely uninformed Americans. So because of this lack of honest information getting out to the American people, most people have no idea that a financial tsunami of biblical proportions is on its way towards us, otherwise known as the global reset in a lot of circles. So unfortunately, that picture up above is going to look pretty good by the time the reset's done with us. Anybody not familiar with Dr. Jim Willie, I interviewed him yesterday, one of the leading experts in the world. And if you've never heard him, I'll just say you will not be disappointed with that. So let's dig into this article. Bloomberg writes that more and more Americans are spending their golden years on the job. Almost 19% of people 65 or older were working at least part-time in the second quarter of 17, according to the U.S. jobs report released on Friday. Unfortunately, that number is going to start to go down pretty quickly. There's what can only be called a retail apocalypse en route. I know a lot of people would like to think I'm a Trump supporter myself, but I'm not one of the Trumpettes, is what I call them, the people that think Trump can do no wrong, that he can fix everything. The global economic system, the problems with it are systemic, they're decades old, and they're just beyond his reach. So, furthermore, the data has been lining up for the better part of a year and a half to more or less, if you choose to read that link, make it very, very clear that the retail apocalypse is upon us. And nowhere is that better demonstrated, I'm not sure if I included it, I did, than in this particular article that deals with 9,000 stores that are going to be closing between now and December. Now, if that doesn't spell retail apocalypse, I don't know what does. We're talking about major names like Neiman Marcus, Kmart, Sears, huge stores that employ thousands and thousands of people. And remember, we already have a country with 102 million unemployed Americans. So at some point, people are going to be looking at working in retirement as a pretty good thing. Certainly baby boomers are increasingly ignoring the traditional retirement age, partially perhaps because of better health. Last quarter, 32% of Americans 65 to 69 were employed. Even past 70, a growing number were still employed. Here's another problem that's coming down the road, though. Something that's not being talked about a great deal is a ticking time bomb that's going to virtually wipe out every pension in the country, whether it's public or private. And I include two different links to this because the problem is so serious and so severe. Some estimates have put the shortfalls in these pension plans as much as $6 trillion just in public pensions alone. As you're going into your golden years thinking that you're getting $6,000 a month, to find out you're only getting $1,500. And you don't have a job. Neither do your kids. All the evidence is out there. The problem is it's not getting to you, the people. And if you are one of those people who's lucky enough to be working right now, the message I want to continue to hammer home to you is prepare. Begin preparing. There is a reason why Germany is telling its people to prepare for enough food and medical supplies for an existence-threatening event. The Czech Republic, the same thing. Other countries are a little more honest with their folks. So, it does say that there are a number of factors, that are keeping Americans working older. Many are healthier. Totally makes sense. Some just decide they want to stay active. So, it's not necessarily because they have to work, but sooner before or later, as some of these building ticking time bombs continue to tick, or these bubbles continue to inflate in search of their pins, because make no mistake, as another link alludes to here, we're living in the largest debt bubble in the history of history. At least that's according to Bill Holter, who I interviewed personally down here. Very similar to something Peter Schiff said not long ago, where he said, once the US dollar collapses, it will be the single largest event in all of human history. And see, sadly, most Americans don't understand the way the global economy works. They don't understand what it means to be the world's reserve currency. And anyone under the age of 70 has never known planet Earth where the US dollar was not the reserve currency. Therefore, that statement probably seems a little bit exaggerated. Sadly, it is not. Once we lose that status, and we are going to lose it, it will be the single biggest event in all of human history. And if you take the time to look into it, you'll understand why. This article goes on to say that, even after they consider themselves officially retired, most Americans are hoping to still keep working a little bit. The problem with that is just because you want to work doesn't mean that there's always a job. And let that be evidenced by the 102 million Americans that are looking to do anything for work right now and can't find work. So then there's the flip side of that. You've got, when surveyed, 61% of American retirees say that they retired sooner than they would have liked to. They were basically shooed out of the workforce. And now that they are older, many employers are not particularly usually interested. So, although age discrimination, as it says, has been illegal for over 50 years, employers continue to see elderly employees as a liability. So while they're continuing to work, they're working part-time. So it's not like these are jobs that are contributing substantially to the growth and the health of our country. The irony here, though, is it says seniors who find it easiest to keep working are healthy, well-educated, and highly skilled people who enjoy their jobs. They like being productive. They're not drains on society. They tend to be the least likely to need the money. The ones that are going to need the money are the ones that are in debt up to their eyeballs. We recently just passed $1 trillion in school loan debt, just recently passed $1 trillion in credit card debt. We are a country that has lived beyond our means for way too long. And as I said, these are giant bubbles, and they are searching for pins as we speak. So if you are one of those people who's lucky enough to still have a job, it might be a good time to begin preparing. So you might also want to start asking yourself why the mainstream media isn't reporting any of this to you. If you actually take the time to go through those links, you'll find that they're all backed up with a tremendous amount of facts, as are these links right here. They include interviews with some of the world's leading economists, Dr. Jim Willey, Peter Schiff, Bill Holter, Jim Rickards, Jim Rogers, and quite a few others that all say the exact same thing, that an absolute global collapse is coming, and those who do not begin preparing for it are going to wish that they had. So all I can do is encourage you to begin preparing. Hopefully Lisa's enjoyed her time wherever she is, and best of luck to everybody. It's going to be some rough sledding out there, so I hope you take this seriously. Folks, he who controls the information controls. I say that all the time. There's a reason the mainstream media is lying to you, or only telling you that much of the truth. There is a reason academia is lying to you. There is a reason that the government is lying to you. It is because you are much easier to control and much easier to manipulate when you don't have any of the information that you need to make informed decisions. So again, I encourage you to please check out these links. There's an incredible amount of information in there. If you're not already preparing, again, I implore you to do so. However, if he who controls the information controls, you've got a ton of it at your fingertips right now. So please at least do your part and share it with others, because there's plenty of families that, if they had any idea what was coming, would most certainly be preparing for it. Please be sure to sound off in the comments. Be sure to come visit me at Right Wing News. I am the host, the voice of reason, otherwise known as Mike DePinto. I'm an attorney in Jacksonville, Florida. Look forward to hopefully catching up to you there. And be sure to sound off in the comments. Voice of reason out. Really just one more thing I want to talk to you about. Now, anybody who's followed me for any length of time has heard me talk about the coming financial collapse, the global reset, the financial tsunami of biblical proportions. I've called it all kinds of things, as have the world's leading experts. And many have suggested that the dollar will lose its status as reserve currency. It's very likely it will. So it's probably going to be a good idea to be invested in something that's not denominated in U.S. dollars. For instance, your bank account. So many have suggested, precious metals. Noble Gold is one of my sponsors. I often say that people should give them a call. If for no other reason, get the facts and then make your decision after that. But no sense not making any decision without having any facts, right? So it turns out that gold and silver are not the only two precious metals that are people predicting to go ballistic. There's another one that's set to go nuts. And it's not silver, it's not iron, it's not gold, it's not copper. We're going to call it magic metal. And it'll be listed as such in the notes of this video. Why? Well, because it's magic because the demand is unreal and supply is non-existent. And it's needed in everything, from airplanes to appliances, to cosmetics, to cars, to medicines, our missiles, surgical tools, smartphones, and one company. We haven't been mining any since the 90s. One company just found the mother lode, and it's in Canada. So people who get in now, there's a very limited number, would have the chance of a lifetime. At this point, we only have enough to last 15 years. At that point, demand can outpace what we have by 900%, which is why Pfizer, Merck, Bristol Myers Squibb are all getting involved. Because it's believed, as you'll learn, that wars will be fought over this, more so than land, than water, than oil, gold, all of it. So if you recall, prior to the cell phone craze, if you invested in lithium, something that there was still plenty of on the planet, you got invest $2.50 a share, sooner or later they were worth over 1,000. You know, well, this particular metal is very different because we're just about out of it on the planet. And this gentleman, his name is Matt Badali, a geologist, and he's accurately predicted 10 of the last commodity spikes on time. Also a professor at Duke, UNC. He's been in the news, many financial conferences. Suggests that minimal investments can gain maximum returns if, in fact, this Canadian company has found what they believe to be is this magic metal. And again, I'll let you watch. There will be a link to learn more in the notes section. I can't certainly explain it all myself, but here's what I would share with you. That it's $47, and I would submit to you that for $47, if there's a chance for a return like that, can you really afford not to do it? So I wouldn't suggest anybody do anything that I do not do myself. So if anybody wants to see it, I'm more than happy to send them my receipt of my copy of it. I'm anxiously awaiting to begin getting his newsletters. Very similar to Bitcoin. How many people would just wish they would have gotten in on that, at the right time? So check out the link that's in the notes. There's plenty of information there, along with a video to watch. But like I said, I would not suggest something I'm not doing myself. For $47, with the financial hell that's coming, I don't think anybody can afford not to do it. And there's a very finite number of people that he will allow to do it. So I encourage you to check that out. There will be a link in the notes. Voice Reason out.